you want to see leadership skills in action?
Why doesn't somebody tell me what they think is going on here?
This is from the movie Margin Call. It documents the 24 hours before the 2008 stock market crash. In this scene, the whole board has come together at an early morning meeting to decide what they are going to do. We'll walk through the whole meeting, breaking down leadership qualities as they appear and analyzing what is working and what is not. Let's get going.
Welcome, everyone. I must apologize for dragging you all here at such an uncommon hour, but from what I've been told, this matter needs to be dealt with urgently. So urgently, in fact, probably should have been addressed weeks ago, but that is spilt milk under the bridge.
John told, expressing his frustration that this should have been addressed weeks ago, while true, doesn't really do anything to move us forward to addressing the challenge. Instead of focusing on the past and what was missed, let's focus on the current and the future.
Why doesn't somebody tell me what they think is going on here?
Mr. Told, as I mentioned earlier, if you compare the figure at the top of page 13...
Jared, it's a little early for all that. Just speak to me in plain English.
That is very refreshing from a leadership perspective. Don't give me all of the jargon, just very simply and plainly tell it to me like it is.
In fact, I'd like to speak to the guy who put this together. Mr. Sullivan, is it? Does he speak English?
Sir?
I'd like to speak with the analyst who seems to have stumbled across this mess.
Certainly. That would be Peter Sullivan, right here.
Oh, Mr. Sullivan, you're here. Good morning. Maybe you could tell me what you think is going on here. And please, speak as you might to a young child or a golden retriever. It wasn't brains that got me here, I can assure you of that.
Okay, I'm not sure how to take that, but what I do want to point out is the encouragement to speak simply and clearly. I don't know if to a child or a golden retriever would be the best way to describe it, but sometimes we can get so caught up in a lot of technical jargon and trying to use heady words and things like that that we miss just the simplicity of what needs to be explained. So anytime that we can simplify, it is a good opportunity, not necessarily child or golden retriever.
Well, sir, as you may or may not know, I work here for Mr. Rogers as an associate in the Risk Assessment and Management Office at MBS.
Please, just relax, stand up, tell us in a clear voice what is the nature of the problem.
What I believe he is attempting to do there is honestly to create some psychological safety. Like, hey, relax, stand up, just tell us what's happening here. He's encouraging Peter, he's drawing him out, saying, hey, let's just hear what's happening and then we can address it. That is a good leadership skill, working to create psychological safety.
Okay, well, as you probably know, over the last 36 to 40 months, the firm has begun packaging new MBS products that combine several different tranches of rating classification in one tradable security. This has been enormously profitable, as I imagine you noticed.
I have.
Well, the firm is currently doing a considerable amount of this business every day. Now, the problem, which is, I guess, why we are here tonight, is that it takes us, the firm, about a month to layer these products correctly, thereby posing a challenge from a risk management standpoint.
And Mr. Sullivan, that challenge is?
When he asks, and that challenge is, he's asking for more information. He's saying, tell me more, clarify. He wants to make sure he understands. He doesn't want any assumptions. Again, this is a mark of good leadership. He is doing the right things in this meeting to understand the full nature of the challenge that is facing his company.
Well, we have to hold these assets on our books longer than we might ideally like to.
Yes.
But the key factor here is these are essentially just mortgages, so that has allowed us to push the leverage considerably beyond what you might be willing or allowed to do in any other circumstance, thereby pushing the risk profile without raising any red flags.
Now, thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Sit down. What I'm guessing your report here says, and give me some rope here. What I'm guessing it says is that considering the, shall we say, bumpy road we've been on the last week or so, that the figures your brilliant co-workers up the line ahead of you have come up with don't make much sense anymore. considering what's taking place today.
What Told is doing is something called looping for understanding. He's saying, okay, so if I'm hearing you right, then this is what I'm understanding. And it is a very effective leadership tool. It's making sure that I don't have any assumptions that I'm working off of. It's communicating to you that I've heard you, that I was paying attention, that I value what you're saying. And then if there's anything that needs to be corrected, that can be corrected. We're going to see Told do that several more times in this scene. It's a great leadership skill to loop for understanding.
Actually, not what's taking place today, but what's already taken place over the last 2 weeks.
So you are saying this has already happened?
And so after looping for understanding, Peter can correct and say, actually, it's what's taken place the past 2 weeks. Told replies, again, looping for understanding. So you're telling me this has already taken place. Peter can affirm that. There's this back and forth, clarifying the challenge, asking questions. This is good leadership dynamic that we're seeing here.
And Mr. Sullivan, what does your model say that means for us here?
And this is great again. He's inviting Peter to explain what is happening. He's creating a safe space. It is challenging, no doubt, but he's saying, I want to hear from you. What is it that we're facing? Tell me honestly, what does your model say? We need the full picture.
Well, that's where it becomes a projection. But,
You're speaking with me, Mr. Sullivan.
And in that quiet reassurance, he's saying, don't worry about anybody else here. You don't need to be concerned about protecting anyone. You're not in trouble with anyone. You're just talking to me. You need to make sure that I understand. And so he brings him back on track. It's a good guide. Again, we are seeing multiple aspects of good leadership skills that Told is displaying here.
well, sir, if those assets decrease by just 25% and remain on our books, that loss would be greater than the current market capitalization of this entire company.
And that is what Told is looking for. Those assets depreciate by 25%. There's no way we're coming back. That is the clarity that Told is looking for. And he got there by looping for understanding and creating psychological safety, a space where Peter felt open and free enough to be able to share the truth of what was happening. If you don't have that on your team, you are missing vital, vital information. If your team does not feel safe enough to say what is actually happening, you are going to have tons of challenges that are going on under the radar, and then they're going to start popping up out of nowhere, and you're not going to know why, because the environment was not safe to speak up. Told is showing that looping for understanding, inviting discussion, reminding of safety, these are all key components to really understanding what is happening within an organization.
So, what you're telling me is that the music is about to stop, and we're going to be left holding the biggest bag of odorous excrement ever assembled in the history of capitalism.
This is his third time of looping for understanding. Now that I think that I have the full picture, let me say it back to you to see if I understand correctly and if there's anything that needs to be adjusted.
Sir, I'm not sure that I would put it that way, but let me clarify, using your analogy, what this model shows is the music, so to speak, just slowing. If the music were to stop, as you put it, then this model wouldn't be even close to that scenario. It would be considerably worse.
I'm here for one reason and one reason alone. I'm here to guess what the music might do a week, a month, a year from now. That's it. Nothing more. And standing here tonight, I'm afraid that I don't hear a thing. So, now that we know the music has stopped, what can we do about it?
There is an excellent question. So we know the problem, we've identified the challenge, and look at all of the time that it took to make sure we understood that. What I often see happening is that leaders will jump to conclusions or act based on assumptions and say, we don't have time to discuss, we don't have time to clarify, we need to act right now. And what ends up happening is they act in the wrong direction, they waste time and then have to redo work. What we see here is all of the time that it took to get clarity on the real challenge. What is the real issue that's going on here? Now that we have that clarity, we can move forward. And so now we're going to transition from this looping for understanding, fact finding, exploration, to now we're shifting to the action steps. What do we do now that we understand the challenge?
Mr. Cohen, Ms. Robertson, I think this is where you're supposed to step back in.
And so he transitions. He got the information from Peter Sullivan, and now he's going to come to Jared Cohen and Sarah Robinson. This is part of good leadership, to know who needs to be in the room, who needs to be feeding information, who do we need to check with. Told is displaying good leadership quality.
What do you have for us?
Sell it all today.
Is that even possible, Sam?
Yes, but at what cost?
So an idea has been put out onto the table. Sell all of the assets today. Notice what Told does not do. He doesn't say yes, and he doesn't say no. He asks questions. And that is what great leaders do. They ask questions. Even when an idea is presented, even if they think it's going to be great, or maybe they think it's stupid, they ask questions, again, so they can understand. Told is doing a masterful job seeking to understand before he acts.
I'll have to pay.
Really?
I think so. Where is this going to come back to us?
Everywhere.
Sam, I don't think you seem to understand what your boy here has just said. If I made you, how would you do this?
Well, you call the traders in for the normal 6:30 meeting and you be honest with them, because they're going to know it's the end either way. So you're going to have to throw them a bone, and a pretty big one. And then you've got to come out of the gate storming. No swaps, no nothing. 40% done by 10:15. By 11 o'clock, all your trades have to be gone, because by lunchtime, word's going to be out. And by 2 o'clock, you're going to be selling at 65 cents on the dollar if you're lucky. And then the feds are going to be in here up your ass trying to slow you down.
Ramesh?
They can slow you down. They can't stop you. It's yours to sell.
So a shift has now happened. Sam has said, all right, here's an option. Here's how we could do it. Told checks with Ramesh. And so he's starting to see the formulation of a plan. And so we have an actionable plan now, but now Sam is going to take a bit of a different tact, and he's going to question the morality of this. Just because we can do something, should we do something?
But John, if you do this, you will kill the market for years. It's over. And you're selling something that you know has no value.
We are selling to willing buyers at the current fair market price, so that we may survive.
You will never sell anything to any of those people ever again.
I understand.
Do you?
Do you? This is it. I'm telling you, this is it.
What Told is doing here is a similar version to what Sam Rogers did at the beginning of the film, when he was applauding the people on his floor for surviving. Told is doing the same thing. He's saying, hey, we're just trying to survive, and if we happen to take out other people as we're doing it, that's just the nature of the game. But now that it's a different perspective, Sam sees a problem with it. And he's trying to call that out and say, this is not a healthy way to run a business. It wasn't healthy when it was happening on his floor. It's not healthy when it's happening at the top here. But Told's focus is just, how do I survive at the expense of everyone else? And that is not good leadership. Now, huge caveat here. I am not a financial expert. I do not understand all the inworkings of the market, nor can I make a judgment on what was the right call to make here. That is for other people to discuss, and there have been plenty of discussions around that. The only thing that I am focused on here are the leadership qualities that are at work in this boardroom. And what we see here is a blend between some really incredible leadership skills, looping for understanding, creating safety, asking questions. Mixed in with that, some very negative leadership skills. Survive at all costs, willing to sacrifice everyone else to get ahead. We often want to categorize leaders as good or bad, either or, when in reality, each one of us is a part of both. Each one of us have good leadership qualities and poor leadership qualities. One of the marks of a good leader is recognizing that mix, being honest about the poor leadership qualities, and working to correct those.
Now it's 4 o'clock. Jared, you got till 5 to break this down, draw me up a plan.
Notice how many directives John is giving. Notice how many decisions he is making. He's not really making that many. He's leaning on his team to say, Peter Sullivan, what's the real challenge here? Help me understand that. Let's have a conversation. Jared Cohen, what options do we have? Sam Rogers, is this possible? Ramesh, what are the consequences that we're looking at? All of these different components here. He is bringing his team together so that together collectively they can make a decision. That is a good leadership skill. John Told in this scene is displaying a number of good leadership skills. He is able to keep the team on track. He is able to identify the challenge, and he is able to move forward toward a solution. I hope that this was helpful for you. If you did find it helpful, go ahead and give a thumbs up. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What did you take away? What are leadership aspects that you're seeing that I probably missed? How do we work through some of the challenges of complex decision making where we have both productive and unproductive leadership skills? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if you have a TV or movie character you would like me to analyze their leadership, just drop that down in the comments. This whole series on Margin Call came from your suggestions, so keep those coming. And until next time, take care.